everybody, and welcome to the LGBTQIA plus podcast with me. I'm Paige. I'm the LGBTQ plus officer for the Aston Student Union, and my pronouns are she, her. With me today, I have Dafydd.
Hello, I'm Dafydd, the union chairperson and transport management student, and my pronouns are he or him.
Perfect. James.
Hello, I'm James. I'm a psychology student. I'm a student rep for the union and giving feedback to the course. And my pronouns are also he, him.
Great, and we are doing the B is for Bisexual podcast today. Now, I know listeners might be wondering, why is it there are 3 people on this podcast when there were only 2 on the previous? Well, I'm not biased, but essentially before this all went ahead, my plan was to record the podcasts in person at a social distance. So I thought one person was best because that's the safest thing to do. Now it's online. So when I had 2 volunteers for the Bi podcast, I thought, well, what's the point in only having the one when I have 2 lovely people who I know very well and I think will both be very entertaining. And so that is the explanation. And viewer as well, because I identify as bi, James and Dafydd have very kindly said it's okay for me to just put my 2 cents in where I see fit. So this could be a long one.
I don't know, after that pun, we might be ending it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think we can really forgive that.
I've honestly had that planned for like weeks. I cannot wait to use that. Anyway, so we'll start off nice and cheerful. Name something, guys, that made you happy today.
Well, I think waking up before everybody else in my family was quite nice because it was like calm in the household. I had a few hours where I could like have my coffee, eat my breakfast, and just kind of sit on the comfortable chair in the living room that everyone's always after, and just had a nice relaxing morning. I think that made me happy today.
Yeah. Mine's very similar. I got up this morning, not particularly early, but early enough. I made a fancy coffee with the espresso pot thing. Started making some bread, and yeah, it was lovely.
You know what? Funnily enough, all the people I've interviewed so far, I've said something about sleep and waking up is what's made them happy.
Maybe there's just nothing else interesting going on. So
everyone's like, well, I got some sleep, so I guess that's a good thing.
How low our bar is for life.
That's quite funny, actually. It'd be interesting to see if that theme continues. So we'll dive right in with a big question. What does being bisexual mean to you guys?
Well, I feel like for me personally, it's that attraction to both men and women. For me, it's like more male leaning. Yeah, but then it's different each day. So it's about the gender that kind of does matter there in comparison to pansexuality, where it's irrespective of the gender, you're just interested in everyone. So for me, it's like some days I'll prefer maybe men, some days I'll prefer women. It just kind of depends. So that's what it is to me in a nutshell.
I mean, I'd probably say around about the same sort of thing. It's just, I guess for me, it's not really dependent on the day, but it's certainly, it's kind of not necessarily, I guess gender's not necessarily relevant. Well, not irrelevant, but not, I'm not sure. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to describe, isn't it?
I feel like every bisexual person has got quite a unique experience of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they don't run necessarily like pansexual and bisexual aren't necessarily alter egos. They don't dislike each other. It's just different words for different people and what works the best for you.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Some days you wake up and it's just like, wow, am I even straight today? Is there even an element of me that likes men? And then other days I wake up and I'm like, oh no, men are great. Like I fully understand that kind of. I think for me, it was when I was speaking to my straight female friends, and they were like, "Well, I've just never really considered even going near a woman," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Is that what you all think?" I felt like I'd been left out of a conversation. I was like, "Hold on a second, this is not the way I've been thinking for the past how many years."
Yeah, I think that makes an awful lot of sense, to be honest.
Yeah. It's when you talk to your peers and you realise that they don't have the same outlook.
You go, something's different here.
Yeah.
Did you have any of your friends that were like, yeah, I agree with you actually? Or were you just kind of there like, okay?
No, I honestly, like, a lot of, like, especially when I was at sixth form, I mean, I was one girl who I knew, and we both were like, no, I kind of, both genders and all genders kind of have interest to me. But a lot of my friends were very much like, no, that is not something I would even remotely consider. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
They're missing out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I think that's another thing as well for me. It's like, I physically can't even begin to understand how that feels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To only have one gender that particularly, like, floats your boat.
Yeah, to feel like absolutely nothing for one gender and not the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't figure it out in my head.
I don't know.
And go on, David.
I don't know. I guess I hadn't really met anybody who I guess identified as any of the LGBTQ plus community, for want of a better term, until I was relatively older, actually. So I guess it's just it's another one of those things, isn't it? It's kind of heteronormativity. It's kind of, I wouldn't say inbuilt, but no one. I was very fortunate that very few people I knew personally were any remotely insulting about this kind of thing. But it was just kind of an assumption, and so I guess I sort of, I don't know, just didn't ever consider anything other than that.
Yeah,
for quite a long period of time.
that's true. That heteronormativity is so prevalent.
Yeah.
Everywhere
Tell
you
me
look.
about it.
So
And I think it's particularly, like, prominent with bisexual people, because if you grow up and you've got this heteronormative framework and you're attracted to that alternate gender, you don't even explore that other side of you unless you're given the kind of, like, the language to do so and the platform to do so.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like I wouldn't be surprised, and I have no idea what the data is on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of bi people don't realise it until a bit later, because they've just kind of been going along in their heteronormative lives, and then they're like, hold on a second, I'm not the same as these other people.
wait a moment.
Yeah, hold on.
I wonder if there's like some sort of coincidence with like midlife crises.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
Getting to 40 and just being like, what?
is that society's bisexual awakening?
Does society then start buying red Ferraris and, I don't know, driving around and things like that?
Oh my god, maybe we've cracked a code here. I don't know. Maybe there's a whole host of bi men who've bought Ferraris to make up for their, like, confusion.
That's it. We've psychoanalyzed them. There we go.
Oh my days. Right, I've already lost where we're up to. What is an experience you've had as a bisexual person that you wish more people knew about?
I think this is a tricky one, because I don't think there's anything specific that I wish more people knew about, but I think that might be a bit biased, because not biased.
Oh no.
Hey, I'm sorry, everyone. I'm deeply sorry. But I feel like everybody in my social circles is aware of kind of like the stereotypes around bisexuality. So I feel like maybe in my social circles everyone kind of knows it, but it is that idea that, okay, if you're bisexual, it's just a stepping stone. And something like I believed in, kind of thing, for a while, and I've seen like elsewhere. Yeah, you can imagine the shock when I didn't like transition. Okay. I know, yeah, but I feel like a lot of people still don't know it, just not in my social circles.
Yeah. Well, I know we've had conversations about that, James, where James and I lived together for 6 months, for some context, and we've talked about the fact that everyone just assumes James is gay. They just assume. And I don't know whether that's...
I did.
Pardon?
I did capitalise on that, I think.
Yeah.
Because I assumed that, okay, yeah, I was going to, I might as well tell people gay anyway, because that's what I end up being, sort of situation. And then, as I say, imagine the shock when I'm like, okay, I still feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that particular question, because I'm not sure whether there's actually anything specific that I would be like. I would be like, oh yeah, you've got to know about that. Maybe it's a question of certain experiences I have or haven't had, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I've said
That's
I don't
fine.
know so much.
No, you haven't. Don't be silly. I think for me, it's and this is speaking more from a female's perspective, I guess. But like a lot of and I have a lot of theories about this, but a lot of the female bi people I know are dating men, and I feel like I just wish people were just not. I don't know. I always feel like when I'm in these spaces, even in the job I'm in as the officer, I have this element of like guilt because I feel like even though I'm part of the community, I don't always feel like I almost feel like I'm letting them down. And like, I wish people knew that the way they spoke about bi women makes them feel this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that heteronormativity coming back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there again, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haunting.
And I just have a theory that the reason a lot of bi women date men is because it's just not easier in that men are easy to date, but easier to because you don't have to work out if a woman is gay if you're just dating a man. And and Tinder is full of more straight men or men in general anyway. And I have a lot of theories about that.
Definitely a PhD there somewhere.
Yeah.
So it becomes there's less, I suppose, to, for want of a better term, justify,
Yeah.
isn't
And
there?
also like we said, there's this heteronormative framework. So if you spent your adolescent years flirting with men because that's kind of what you were told to do and you enjoyed that, then when you get to 20 and you realize that's not the only person you want to flirt with, suddenly you're like, well, shit, like, is it different with women? Like, I'm catching up to do. Like,
We just take some notes. What have I missed?
yeah, it's like, oh my God, I need a crash course. Like,
It's such a difficult one, isn't it? I think there is a definite difference between the way it's perceived between men and women. Maybe
oh
just
yeah.
because historically women have always had it a little bit lighter in terms of like the prosecution. Obviously, there's still outspread prosecution of women too for like sexuality, but I feel like that the heteronormative standards are a lot less emphasized on women, which gives them gives you the freedom to be like, okay, yeah, I am interested in women, but doesn't give you the freedom to go, okay, yeah, I could just date a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, historical fun fact, I don't think it's ever actually been illegal for a woman to date another woman. I think you could be punished and prosecuted for it if you were a man dating another man, but I don't think
Yeah,
it's ever been illegal. I
Yeah,
don't think.
I'm also fairly certain that's correct. Like,
Yeah.
I saw something about it when I was doing some research for a lesson the other day. I was like, oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So as it's History Month, got to bring some fun facts in.
Exactly.
Yes, that is. I mean, I think the bi experience is so unique and so different because there are different genders who can experience that sexuality, and different genders have different norms, like we've said. So it's so nuanced, isn't it?
It's part of
Yeah.
what makes the community as a whole so special. I think sometimes it's
Yeah.
that
yeah,
nuance there, but everyone's generally, hopefully, quite accepting of all those nuances, which you just don't think you get in kind of like a heteronormative standard.
No, absolutely
yeah,
not.
and not necessarily in this context. No, certainly.
No.
It's just this. I like to think of the entire thing as one big nuance, really, isn't it? It's like there's always something slightly different.
Always an
Everyone,
asterisk.
yeah, everyone always has their own approach or their own particular perspective on it, and
Absolutely.
that's just, yeah,
I'm learning that through this podcast. It was something I was aware of, but it's something I've become hyper aware of just through interviewing people because each identity is like, it's just so different for each person.
yeah.
You know, there's the core things, but even that is flexible. You know, it's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely a good one to reflect on.
Yeah. So, have you guys ever been to Pride?
Yes. Once. I was going to go again, but, you know, COVID.
Which Pride was it? Was it one of the Birmingham
It was Leeds with the Scouts.
All right.
Yeah.
How old were you?
How old was I? I was in uni, so I was like 19 or 20. So, yeah. And I went with... So they put together a group of people from Scouts. It was mainly Explorer Scouts, so over 16. Throughout the whole of West Yorkshire, and also the bit that they call Central Yorkshire in Scouting terms, which is actually just Leeds. And yeah, we had a big group that went to Pride in Leeds, and it was really fun. Yeah, really exciting. We had all of our posters and stuff like that, and our Pride neckers. Mine is still currently in Birmingham. I know it's really annoying, isn't it? And yeah, it's really, really good experience. And I was going to go again with the Scouts in Birmingham. I was invited to by one of the Scout leaders to go along with them in their little section in about February or something. They asked me to do that, but unfortunately, it didn't come to pass. But yeah, I would have gone again.
Yeah, sounds good. Myself, I've never been to a pride, properly been to a pride. I think that's just a combination of lots of different things. Because I used to work quite a lot, shifts, whatnot, and have like never really had a group of people that I'd particularly go with. I think, in terms of like a group of LGBTQ plus friends or a group of people that were really woo, let's go pride. So it's like an unfortunate combo of factors, which kind of led to me never actually going. And then last year, as you know, Paige was like, "Yes, time to go. I'm going to get on a float or something."
Yes, in Madrid, we're going to have that float. Me and James versus the whole of Spain, just like
We're going to be front and center. But yeah, no one needs me to recount how last year went. But next time, maybe not this year, because I imagine it won't happen this year either. But year after that, maybe.
Despite best laid plans, you know what? You're not the only ones who've had. Other people I've interviewed have said, "Yeah, no, it's COVID ruined my first Pride because they'd just gotten to uni and they were like, oh, this is the time I'm going to do it," and then
just
lo and behold, Yeah, I've actually been really lucky to have been to 2. I didn't realise when I started this, I thought I would be the one who hadn't been to that many. But from people I've interviewed, I've actually been to the most so far. I don't know. That's just a bit of sheer luck, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, and they don't happen everywhere as well. That's another thing.
No.
And certainly with me, Leeds from Keighley it's not far, but it's a it's a distance, and so I think most people don't live in necessarily the places where they have them.
No, and it's not always accessible, is it?
No, it's not.
I was fortunate that I could get on a train to London and I had those finances and stuff, but obviously that's not always the case, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like little small towns have a pride, is it?
No, although I think in 2019, where I spent most of my life, started a kind of some group of people started a little sort of festival thing, and that was quite nice. And then they started one in Bradford as well. It wasn't obviously as big as the one in Leeds or anywhere like that, but it was a little thing, and that was nice to see. In slightly less popular places, I guess.
That has suddenly really spurred me on to want to host the first Swaddling Coat Pride.
Yes,
that is the little town I'm in now, and suddenly I'm like, hold on, this could be my legacy.
Yeah. Do you have any local Swaddling Coat famous people that you can invite to this pride?
Why not?
You know what? What's his name? He was the dragon in the Merlin TV series on BBC. I don't know. John Hart, I think.
I've not watched that.
I'm pretty sure it's him, or he's a voice actor of some kind. He's quite big, and there's a street about 5-minute walk from me that's named after him. Maybe I could get him involved.
Yeah, why not? Try it.
I don't know.
The worst thing that can happen is that he says no.
Yeah, and it'd just be me and him marching down the high street, yes.
I'm just going to Google it because I've got part of my brain that's like he's not alive. So.
Oh God.
I'm going to double check.
Maybe I'm the wrong person. The voice actor for Merlin's dragon, I'm 95% sure.
Let me see.
I don't know. I've not watched that in years. I don't know who it was.
I think he died a few years back.
I'm
sorry to bring this down, but I think he died.
Well, then you can join in spirit. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure we can spirit.
Enough of these puns in this bloody podcast.
just I don't know. Perform some kind of séance and ask, I guess.
Oh my God! Yeah, bring the witches, the gay witches of Swaddling Coat. Get them involved. I'm sure they're out here in their thousands.
I love it. Yeah. Can we have a picture of? I've got this picture in my head of you, Paige, where I think you're at London Pride. I think it was, and there's one of the people that are protesting against it, and you're just there with this kind of middle finger, evil look on your face, no.
I'm gonna ask Banu to edit a photo of that over this podcast because I've got it and I sent it to marketing because it's just so funny, and I'm like, there's a protest. You can't see me, but I'm flagging them, and there's a protest, and it's so funny. Yeah, that is good vibes.
Pop that on your posters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do.
Swad Pride.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'll make that happen. Catch me in 2022 hosting Swad Pride.
It's going to be brilliant. Might join.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
I'm going to need somebody. I don't know who the hell else is going to come at this time. So. Oh dear. So, if you could change anything in the world right now, and it can't be COVID, I know I've said anything and that's contradictory, but it can't be COVID, what would it be?
I couldn't decide an answer for this. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's hard.
End climate change might be
That'd be
top of the
lovely.
list. But I
That'd be
feel like
brilliant.
that's
Great one.
it's quite a wide brief there. I'm not sure about exactly how that would happen, but I think that would be top of the list.
Non-corona related. I mean, I'd misread this question, so I was thinking like, oh, I'd be able to go on a train or something like that. But
Live music, please.
I love that.
Yeah, I've just this town as well is nowhere near a train station. It's a 15-minute drive to a railway station, and they don't have buses. They have a demand responsive transport system that you have to call 24 hours beforehand and ask to go to the railway station, and it's really annoying. So even if there wasn't, a horrible pandemic on, then still would be quite difficult to get to the train station. But that's irrelevant.
I was moaning the other day about the number 4 bus by me. Sometimes it arrives 20 minutes late.
Well, yeah, there's no bus. There's no bus. There's a bus into the nearest town, next nearest town in the morning for school children.
Oh my days.
But so that I'd change. But
How many of you been a transport student is not lost on me right now.
What would I change? Mine's really weird. I would end nationalism or something. Ooh. Something to really rile up people that love nationalism. I'd end it.
Okay.
That sounds like a plan.
No nations anymore. We'd all just be happy and free to do whatever we want in a reasonable manner, not murder or anything.
I'd love to get together the people who have said their ideas on this podcast already, because between you, it is the most far left political party I've ever come across.
So biased.
And I'd support you, but
We had a lecture the other day, Intergroup Conflict and Prejudice, and as part of the lecture, he was like, "Here's some fascism scales you can do if you want to see how fascist you are, or authoritarian." And me and my friend did it, and we both got the result of being a liberal airhead. So we've decided we're now starting a party, the Liberal Airheads Party.
That's
You're
brilliant.
welcome to join.
I would vote for that. I wouldn't even read the mandate. I would just be like, "You have my vote."
Yeah. I think it's political positions are so weird though, because I wouldn't necessarily consider myself to be far left by any measure of the term, but it's when you actually break down what I think of as a good political opinion, I think there are a lot of people who would say, "My God, you're a communist or something."
Feed hungry children, and they're communist.
Yeah, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't think that. I mean, I think it's such an odd little minefield. But I mean, that's not relevant to our conversation. But
no, it is relevant. It is. I mean, it's not. For me, I've always gotten frustrated by people who are so hard left, hard right, nothing in between, no grey area, no nothing. It's just you're either left or you're right, and that is it. And I'm like, that is in the term of how sexuality is a spectrum, so is politics.
Yes. It's a big wheel of different opinions.
It is. And if we all had the same opinion, we would never grow and progress. I'm not saying some opinions are good ones. I'm just saying their opinion makes us think smarter and bigger. And without that, you know what I mean? You need that to and fro.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the problem arises when we start treating some people's very bad opinions as a platform for debate.
Well,
yeah.
For example, murdering people, I guess, is a particularly unpleasant political opinion.
I can't wait to write the description for this YouTube podcast and just be like, yeah, so we get to talking about murdering people and...
Yeah, well...
God, Pride is going to be an absolute riot.
Oh, my days. Right, so what did we say? Nationalism and...
We'd end nationalism.
Sorry, yes, very clearly. We'd end nationalism.
Yeah, and have more of it.
And then James, I've already forgotten yours.
It's all right. Climate change.
Oh yeah.
Climate change. That was a good one. That was a
Stop
good
that.
one.
Not
Yeah,
more,
sorry.
Very
not more
good.
climate change.
Yeah, you just. I'm sorry. Nationalism just took me, and I was the climate change left my brain. So, what is the biggest stereotype of being a bisexual person that you live up to?
I love the one about sitting. That's brilliant.
I want to emphasize for the general viewer who's like the straight person listening is like, but I sit down. Does that make me bi?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, like apparently people who are bisexual cannot sit on chairs properly.
Oh yeah. I feel that.
I don't understand how these two things are necessarily related. I'm pretty sure they're not, and it's probably just coincidence. But I also cannot sit on a chair at all without putting myself into the most uncomfortable position, and then I go like, oh, I'm now upside down somehow, or so, and it really just genuinely do pain. I mean, hurts, not do pain. That's stupid. At times, and my leg will be like completely dead, but I'll still do it anyway.
I fully resonate with that.
Yeah.
If I can sit cross-legged on a chair that's not designed to be sat cross-legged on, I will do it.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
I am literally cross-legged as we record this.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. Like knee pain has become a bit more of an issue in lockdown because obviously I'm sitting down all day at these weird angles and the legs everywhere. But it's true. It's a complete. I live up to the stereotype.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love it. Murder and knee pain.
There's probably some other explanation. I don't know.
Maybe
But
we're
it's-
defying the heteronormative standards, which
Yeah.
frees us up to be like, we can sit however we want on chairs.
Yeah, exactly. Or on things that are absolutely not chairs.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big favourite of mine.
Yeah.
For sure. I think like on a sofa on like the side. What's the name?
yeah.
The arm.
Yeah, that's it. The arm of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the peak position to be in.
Cracking place to sit, that is, because you can spring up and go about your day so quickly from there. You're just like, boom, I'm up. I'm basically already standing on the arm of this chair.
Yeah.
True.
I remember when I was in an office, whatever that is, people coming and sitting down on the desk, and being like, oh, speaking about, some delay or something, or I don't know. Is that doesn't really count though, does it? But that's another place. That's another good place. It's kind of a powerful place to sit. If you sit on someone's desk, it's like, we're going to get this thing done. I'm going to cook.
It's kind of sexy too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something sexy about being sat on a table. I don't know. Because you can be all legs. Like you're just out there higher up than the person sat below you. Your outfit's on full show. Like.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a hitting on people position now. Like,
Maybe.
Oh.
Maybe you can spot the bisexuals in the office by whether they decide to sit on your desk or not.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point. I know that when I worked in an office very briefly for placement, I would very regularly come in, kick off my shoes, and then sit cross-legged behind my desk. And that's not professional. Like the CEO of the goddamn company was like 2 seconds down the hallway, but there I was, shoes off.
Oh no, I'd never take my shoes off.
Would you not?
No. Apparently there was some director that was there at my placement previously who would just walk around the office with no shoes on. But
I've been known to bring a change of shoes, i.e. like get out of my like work shoes and just put on slippers.
Oh, that is so chaotic. James would bring his slippers anywhere.
It's true. It is true.
I remember the first time you said it and I thought you were kidding, and then I saw you put the slippers in your bag and I was like, oh no, you're really just bringing your slippers to this party or whatever.
I'm weird because I cannot stand slippers. I do not like them. I will not wear them.
Especially like the good ones, which are like fluffy inside, keep your feet nice and comfortable.
No.
They can go practically anywhere. It's fantastic.
No. Just no.
Oh, just no.
Sorry.
I'm hurt now.
I feel like the biggest stereotype of being a bi person for me is probably just the fact that I'm dating a man, I just feel like that's such a women's bi stereotype. How many of them do you know that are dating other women? They're all dating men. I don't know why we do it, but we do. That's just what we're doing.
Yeah, like living your life.
Yeah. Comment below if you're a bi woman dating another woman. I would love to see it, truly.
Get a poll
It
going.
does, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I've already like kind of covered my stereotype of what I live up to of like being like, oh yeah, bi, oh yeah, gay, but then going back to bi now. So I'm kind of defined that stereotype, I hope.
Yeah.
But then also the fact that I am more leaning towards men does kind of fit into that stereotype still. But yeah, that's it. I kind of
Yeah, but
jumped
that's
right
like totally. I mean, it's not just because being bi doesn't mean 50-50, does it?
Yeah.
It can mean 70-30 or 1-99, and
Mm.
that's totally fine. Everybody within that spectrum is
But
valid.
I think that kind of, if you quantify it like that, quantifying it is part of the issue there, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
because it's like, surely, logically, it wouldn't necessarily be some fixed ratio every
Absolutely.
single, at some point, if you were to like go up to somebody and, well, I'm not saying like, oh, who are you dating or whatever.
Quantify there.
Yeah.
You can't do it, can
No,
you?
no.
It's not feasible.
No.
Yeah, like you can lean one way or another.
Over someone's life, I guess. I don't know. Then it would just be, but then it's like a roll of a dice. It's a roll of a dice. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think using that language is potentially problematic because it does insinuate that it is possible to be a certain percentage each way, and that's, like James has already said, that's day to day his percentage if it changes. So it can't exist, can it?
It's always great when I get caught off guard. I'll be there going about my day, and I'll be like, "Oh gosh, she looks gorgeous."
Excuse me.
Yeah, and I'll have to be like, "What? I'm not used to this." But then there it is.
Oh, do either of you two? I do not have TikTok.
No.
I do. Yes, I don't post on it or anything like that. But yeah.
James, did you find, because this is what I've heard, apparently TikTok knows your bi before you do. Did you find your news feed or your feed? I don't know how it works. I don't have TikTok.
Yeah.
Represented that.
Yes, it did very quickly. Like I know a little bit about how the For You page works. Because I checked out the app. I think it's quite a dangerous app, if I'm honest, for like young people's mental health. Because the For You page, from my understanding, basically as you're using the app, it's constantly collecting data, which videos you spend the most time watching, which videos you interact with, like pause, play, click on the comment section, anything like that, or try and share it, and it kind of collates this data and builds up this profile about you. So if for whatever reason you are viewing topics that were, it's like advertising, viewing topics that are associated with bisexuality, they're going to put some bisexuality things in your feed and see if you interact with them. So it can be quite dangerous, I think, for like mental health, because if you're insecure about a certain trait, you're probably more likely to watch videos containing that thing that makes you insecure, which puts more on your For You page more and more. But to get back to the original point, yes, the feed did pick up very quickly that I was bi.
Interesting. I fully just want to download it just to see how quickly it knows. But then also the really like insecure part of me is like, but what if it doesn't pick up on it? What if it just thinks I'm straight? Like
that's a risk. I mean,
I don't want TikTok to like call me out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I would be less worried about what TikTok thinks about you.
Thank you, David. Wise words.
Yeah.
You've grounded me. Thank you.
Maybe that's a new test to get into the LGBTQ+ societies.
Yeah,
Just show us TikTok For You page, and we'll see if you're allowed in.
Yeah, that's the. Well, I've got friends. I've got a friend who I won't name, but up until very recently thought they were straight, and then suddenly their TikTok page just opened their eyes, and they were talking to me, and they were like, "Oh my god!" And they explained their experience. I was like, "Oh no, honey, you're at least on the spectrum because what you're saying resonates with how I feel every day." And they were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe TikTok's just like outed me." Like,
well, I remember a couple of years ago there was a I can't remember what it was, to be honest, but it was like someone's little. I'd say little. It wasn't particularly little, but someone's experiment at a university to look at all of the Facebook likes that you've made of various pages and things like that. And it would be able to predict, well, from an American perspective at least, your political leanings, sexuality, whether or not you're married, your approximate age, and things like that.
How familiar are you with Cambridge Analytica?
Sorry?
Quite political now. How familiar are you with Cambridge Analytica?
Oh, yes. I've heard of it.
I'm not really.
But yeah, if you could go onto it and you could connect your account, and then it would just tell you these things about yourself, like your approximate political leanings, or who you probably would have been more likely to vote for, whether you were young or old or whatever. And that was quite scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff is
because
my
it was quite
passion.
accurate.
Moment. I think they did a leak. Channel 4 got a hold of like Trump's campaign data. Essentially the same thing as that, where they had all of this data and they just went round the neighborhoods and were like, here's your name on our list. I can tell from this list how much you earn, whether you own a car, whether you have children, all of this information which they'd harvested off Facebook. And the people were sitting there going, yeah, that's all true. And of course, that's how advertisers get you. But
And of course, the big problem with it, I think, is that it's not necessarily direct. Nobody's gone up to you and asked, oh, are you married? Do you have 3 children? Things like this. It's kind of implied through your actions, and they've inferred then that information. So that's quite scary, because then how on earth do you avoid all of this if you're not, completely silent on the internet, I guess.
And it's hard because you get, and FOMO is real, and you could remove yourself from the internet. But what if, you can't see, especially during lockdown, what if on Facebook is where you get to see your niece or nephew for the first time?
Yes.
Or
exactly.
like that's how you contact your mum, or I don't know, all sorts of things. And that is, wow, there's so many tidbits of knowledge coming from this.
It's scary. I'm going to order a book, and because it's got a lot more information in there. I'll let you know how it goes. But it was a book written by one of the whistleblowers at Cambridge Analytica, and yeah, it's a really scary topic, I think, just with how much information these companies kind of gather. Facebook's only just realised that I'm not straight, because I think when I was the peak of me using Facebook was a time when I'm like, oh no, people cannot know. So I'd be very careful. Like I'd be really careful. Like even things I'd like, sort of things, I would try and. If I was like, if this could be construed in some way, then I might not be straight. I wouldn't even interact with it. But then obviously, as I've kind of moving a little bit back to Facebook with these lockdowns and things and interacting with people, Facebook's kind of actually understood, oh yeah, finally.
That is so interesting, James. I think that is a tiny little, I don't know if you meant to say it, but that is such a tiny little experience that you've had that a straight person wouldn't even have to begin to think about. Like as an adolescent, you had to be so careful about what you liked on social media in case somebody worked it out and you were afraid that would happen. Like that's bananas, isn't it? That it's crazy that a young person should have to even consider that when just using social media.
Stressful times, yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Obviously nowadays, like I'm still a little bit like that nowadays, but I'm getting that out of myself. I'm hunting down the part that's like, no.
I know. Sorry, I know plenty of people who have very carefully curated themselves online because they have family members who follow them and they're not willing to out themselves, and they have to be careful about how they express themselves, and it's very complicated.
Yeah.
It's same thing with me. I like, because of family members specifically. I have a history of trying to be quite careful with it. But I think over the past couple of lockdowns and just self-reflection central here, and me, Paige, I'll overanalyze anything.
Oh my god, yes.
Like I don't know why I'm doing this anymore. If I'm stressing myself out about it, if they've got a problem, that's their problem. So I'm starting to be just a lot more open, like sexuality side of things. Obviously, I'm not like posting who I'm dating on the story, whether I've got a Tinder or what. But just putting like LGBTQ plus positive posts on there, or like saying, like the other day, I was like, okay, I need people for my study. It's about LGBT. I wouldn't have done that like 3 years ago, but I might as well now.
And it's like a snowball effect as well. I don't know if there's anyone listening who is intentionally curating their feed, but I know by my own personal experience. I remember I retweeted something about being bisexual in like my first year of university. It's the first time I'd ever done that. And a friend of mine was like, oh my God, you've done that. And since then, now it's just snowballed. Like like my Instagram is clearly like there's not a lot of nuance there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was just pardon?
Gates are open.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a snowball effect. And obviously you have as much control over that as you want to have at the end of the day. But for me, I think I just broke the barrier and then ever so slowly became more and more just like comfortable with posting things.
certainly an interesting one, social media.
Yeah. So what would you guys say the best part about being bi is?
Oh, that's tricky.
I don't know whether there is one.
Interesting. No, that's a valid answer though.
I mean, it doesn't. For me personally, it doesn't constitute something necessarily good or bad about myself. It simply, I guess, is.
It simply is.
You
That's
know.
nice.
So I can't go around saying, "Oh, yeah, I think it's great," because, well, it's neither good nor bad. I hope. It's like I don't know, what do you like being about being straight or whatever. It's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
no one's going to say, "Oh, well, I like," because you can never imagine the counterfactual when it's about your internal self, I guess.
Absolutely. Gosh, that's so philosophical. I love that. You could have just said something like, "Oh, I'm just really like the flag" or whatever, and you were like, "No."
I'm going to be thinking about that for the next couple of days, I think.
Bless you.
No, I think I like the way that I can almost, or we can almost step between different elements of the community with it. Like we can relate to, not fully relate to, of course, people who are straight, people who are gay. I kind of like that we can step between the barriers there when we're not in that box of straight or gay. We are the spectrum in the middle kind of thing.
We are the spectrum.
So I kind of like that about it, that actually each bisexual person is completely unique in the way that they feel it and they express themselves. But with like a straight or gay person, it's usually, oh yeah, this is it. It's that kind of binary mindset, which I think bisexuality is like, no, it doesn't exist.
We have that, like, we have that kind of ability to jump between different groups, which I know is like some people who in the community don't love, because there's this idea of being able to pass and being able to get away with, being straight in context. But the other flip side of it is that because you're able to jump between these two groups, you're not always fully accepted in either one. I don't know if you two have experienced that.
Yeah. I think, go ahead.
No, I was going to say something slightly, I don't know, left field.
Go for it.
All right.
Welcome here.
Well, like, as someone who is also of multiple ethnic origin, I kind of have. It's really difficult. I'm not sure whether it's really difficult not to be perceived as like one or the other, and equally, it's like no, people don't necessarily think of you as just yourself. Like there's always somebody who wants to come along and ask you, "Oh, where are you from?" And then they want some sort of deep explanation as to why my skin isn't white and things like that. And so it's like I don't see the merit in. I mean, I guess it's okay, but then like having to sort of explain and then fit in to different groups in sort of like isolation is for me it's not necessarily productive, and it's in that sense from that kind of slightly lateral thinking, parallel thinking, I can't remember what it's called, way. It's kind of, well, I don't know whether being able to fit in with multiple different groups of people in sort of like, I can act in this certain way or pretend basically to not be, to be, one or the other or something. I don't know whether that's necessarily helpful. I don't know.
That's such an interesting perspective as well, actually. And it's true, and it can be tiring having to have different faces of yourself, can't it? So
I think like just me personally, I don't change particularly how I act depending on which group I'm in. Like beforehand I would have done, but I don't anymore. And I think that's kind of made the whole experience easier. That I just am me.
Yeah.
And again, it's that kind of, if you've got a problem with that, actually that's your problem there, not mine.
Yeah. Take it or leave it,
Yeah, and people do go, I'm not a fan of that, like, because I think quite camp at times, and I know people don't like that, but I don't. I actually don't try and change what I do or how I say it. I just kind of there is me. If you don't like it, I can't have everybody like me. So yeah,
It's not always a blessing. I think it's possibly what we're getting at, being able to change faces. And I think it's a good message to take home is you should just strive to be yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And whatever that is, totally fine. Just do it, as long as it's not a mass murdering. Yeah. Back to murdering, don't do it.
It's all gone full circle now.
Oh, bless. That's funny. So what is, and you've both, see, the people I've asked before, they've been predominantly first year, so this will be interesting. Your experience is different as you're both in your 4th year of university. What is your favourite thing about being part of the LGBTQ plus community at Aston? Or lack thereof. You can totally slag it off. I don't mind.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. No, I don't know. I was thinking about this question because it's such a difficult thing to quantify or even to qualitatify, if that's even a word.
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Make it a word right now.
Should be. I'm bringing up the Oxford dictionaries. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't have to know.
I think just because of the way I've always kind of held the LGBTQ plus community at a distance almost. I think again it's just going back to that kind of teenage years. So I'd never, and between that and literally just working too much, I'd never really engaged very much with the LGBTQ plus community at Aston specifically. But there is 2 things I did think about this. First of all is the visibility. I think the community at Aston is quite visible. They're always doing fun events kind of things. You can see their presence in the union and whatnot. So I think that is quite nice. And then also just in the lecturers as well, we've got some fantastic LGBTQ plus lecturers in psychology, and I think they're a real asset to the university as well.
Shout out to Dan Shepherd.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes, I will be telling him about this podcast.
I hope you're listening, Dan. You've just got to shout out.
Yeah, woo. Yeah, and they've got such knowledge and experience, and I think they're a big part of LGBTQ plus at Aston.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
I'd agree. It's kind of the visibility. I think is nice, really.
Yeah, and it's important.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the favourite thing is for me because I've not really mentioned it. Yeah, I guess the favourite thing for me is the fact that you guys thought I was good enough to be voted in to be in such a powerful position within the Aston community. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? I don't know how I managed to get here, but
because you're fantastic. That's why.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. You're very, very kind. So it doesn't have to be a closing piece, but is there anything else you guys feel like you need to scream into the void about being bisexual that you just have to share, or just something you've thought about that we haven't covered?
We've covered quite a wide range of things.
We have.
We really went to town,
including murder. So
including murder and funny knees.
Yeah.
It's not bisexuality, but does anybody have any good herbal tea recommendations? Everyone's getting this question at the moment.
Oh my word!
Echinacea is my absolute favourite, and echinacea tea just slaps. I really love it. Sainsbury's echinacea tea.
Herbal tea. I mean, my favourite not tea is to literally get fresh mint, chop it up, and put it in a tea strainer and then boiling water.
Love that.
It's so much better than buying a bag of mint tea. It's just such a fresh flavour. It's really calming. It's such a lovely. I cannot highly recommend it enough, and it's really quite simple. So
and environmentally friendly, no?
Yes, exactly. You can grow your own mint if you want to. I've done that.
And economic.
Indeed.
I love it.
Or if you want, this is a kind of black tea, but like Russian Caravan is my absolute favourite kind of tea. It's a blend of like oolong and some other tea. It's like tea that was traded along the Silk Road between Russia and Europe and across the Caucasus. So Russian Caravan, that's why it's called that. But it's really
LGBTQ plus History Month, we're not only learning about the gays, we're learning about tea history, ladies and gentlemen.
Bit of an extra spin on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what Birmingham's dying out for, though. And I don't know, maybe it already exists, but like an LGBTQ plus safe space, like tea shop with like 5 billion teas on offer.
Non-alcoholic safe space somewhere in the
That is, I feel like that's something that's actually really missing generally.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
so much focus on like going out randomly clubbing and getting drunk and stuff, which
Yeah.
I don't particularly enjoy anyway.
Mm.
Although I've only done it once, and I was in like a basement somewhere, and it was really weird.
That
I
seems
don't
like
know where you were.
everyone's clubbing experience. We're in a basement. It was loud.
Yeah.
It was noisy.
It was dark. I don't know, like.
Yeah, but it would be just nice if somewhere like was just a cafe or I don't
totally
know,
agree.
somewhere that
And
sold
with
cake.
the prominence of mental health problems in the LGBTQ plus community. Sorry, we're about to get real deep here. I just feel like alcoholic spaces being the only ones where you can socialize with people like yourself it's quite dangerous, isn't it? Really,
really is.
So yeah, non-alcoholic gay spaces, make it happen.
Yes.
I'm looking at the camera like, you viewer, I know you can do it.
One of you. It's your responsibility.
Someone.
Yeah, what if you like 3 people? It's like me, Dafydd, and James watching it back. Like, you do it.
Right, why did you not complete your final year dissertation projects? Well, let me tell you about this tea shop.
and for pride, don't forget.
Oh yes, we've got our plates full.
Oh.
There you go. The tea shop can sponsor the Pride.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
This is going to be a massive success.
Yeah, it's a business plan in the making. This is like history in the making. Next year, we'll look back and be like, wow, look how far we've come.
Cannot wait.
Well, I mean, thank you both so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you.
I've had a lot of fun. I'm not surprised it's run about 20 minutes longer than the other ones, to be honest. Anyone watching's had to have a little tea break in between and think, flipping heck, I'm exhausted.
They can watch it whilst studying. It's a good, nice, long studying kind of.
Yeah, background noise.
I don't know if the themes have been right for studying, like murder and
yes,
tea and
dodgy needs. So yeah, thank you. Just thank you so much.
Thank you. Been
Thank
a
you.
fantastic host.
And I'll speak to you both soon.
I'm sure you will. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.